probably got more than you bargained for.
No, I got great stuff. Thank you so much.
My first name is Clella, and my middle name is Susan, last name Carrero. Everybody calls me Susan. I was born in San Dimas, California, and lived in Southern California my whole life. My family life was typical. I had a sister and a brother. My brother was adopted, and he was 8 years older than me. But I was so proud to have him as my brother. And he died when he was 57. And my sister just died last year. She was 90. So it's just me left. Our parents have been gone for years. So I had a really great life. I loved my parents. They were very typical parents going through the war and going through the Depression, and we came out of it and really well, and we always had food on the table and a warm bed to sleep in. We never had really hardships. My dad said I was upside down before I was right side up, because I never sat still. I was always tumbling. We'd go for a walk and I just do cartwheels and walkovers and stuff. I never just walked down the street. They used to make fun of me. I always loved to entertain. Anything I could do in front of people. I was 3 years old, and we had these big cement things where the steps were. So that was my stage. And I'd go and stand on the cement thing at the end of the stairs and sing. Playmates, come out and play with me, and bring your dolly 3, climb up my apple tree. Look down my rain barrel, slide down my cellar door, and we'll be jolly friends forevermore. And there's another verse to it too, so that was my first. I just sang to the world. Nobody was there, but I sang to them, and I've always loved entertaining and singing. But I went from acrobats to tumbling, and then I went and I was an adagio dancer, and that's where the muscle guys, they spring you and throw you, and you go into a bird position, and then somebody else catches you. And I never ever thought of anybody not catching me. So. And I did that from the time I was 10 years old until I was 28. And I was in a car accident and I couldn't do it anymore. I first was a cocktail waitress. Then I was a singing cocktail waitress. And I did that for about 10 years. And then I went to work for Wells Fargo Bank, and then I went to work for a moving company as their office manager. And I did that until we moved to Sun City, California, and my husband and I totally retired. And then I was busier than I'd ever been, because there were so many clubs and so many things to do. And when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, I kind of quit all of the clubs and everything. He had multiple myeloma, and he had a big mass that they found in his pelvis. And he lost his legs, the use of his legs completely. And he kept trying to stand up, and he'd fall and fall. After 3 years, he fell So I called the paramedics, as I always did, because I couldn't lift him. And they came and he was not coherent. And so they said he had to go to the hospital, and that was on the 6th of January, and he died on the 11th.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were married 54 years.
Did you take care of him while he was sick?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I left all the clubs and everything that I was in that should take care of him.
when did you guys meet, you and your husband?
He came in the bar where I was singing Cautuachus. It was at the Ramada Inn Hotel. And he came in there and he sat at a table. I was very busy constantly, and my customers would just raise their hand and say 1 or 2 drinks or a change. It would be a zero. I didn't like him at first because he went to the bartender and got his drink and then went back to the table. And so my bartender said, "Oh, you can't handle your people?" And I says, "Who came and got a drink?" So he pointed him out to me, and I went over and I said, "All you have to do is raise your hand and I'll see it and I'll bring you a drink. I don't have to come to the table and you order it." I got really annoyed. About a month later, everybody after the bar closed was in the coffee shop because it was open 24 hours a day. So they were all in there, and I went in there. I always did and got hot chocolate before I went home. And everybody said, "Oh, come and join us up at the front table." And so there was an open spot by a bongo drum player, and then there was a spot open next to Tom, my husband. And so I thought, well, I can't stand the bongo player, so I'll go and sit by Tom. Well, he made me laugh the whole night long. And he said, "Well, what are you doing on Sunday?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to a wedding. You can come along if you want to." And he did. So I thought that was pretty neat. That was in January. And then we ended up getting married in August of the same year. So he swept me out on my feet, even though he didn't think he wanted to, I don't think.
You have 5 kids?
Yeah. 3 from my first marriage and the 2 with my husband. I was married 10 years the first time. I got married when I was 15. And had 3 children before I was 20.
Can I ask how you ended up getting married at 15?
I wanted to be a mother. That's what I was being raised to be, a mother and a housewife. But my mother told me I couldn't have a baby until I was married. So the first guy that asked me to marry him, I leaped. And I got to have my baby. And my baby was born a year and 1 month after we had been married. So, but everybody thought I had to get married. And after 8 months, they said, "Well, I thought you'd be having that baby by now."
So were you still in high school?
Yeah.
Did you?
I finished high school, but I finished it at LA City College. A few years later. In fact, my 3rd child was a baby when I was in school. And I finished that there.
Who or what has been your greatest love?
My second husband. after having the first husband where I was not allowed to voice an opinion or speak or question anything he said. My second husband loved to argue. And you know, I wouldn't open my mouth when I first married him. And he said, "Don't you have an opinion?" I said, "Yes." "Well, voice it." So he made me come out of my shell, and because he loved to bicker like that, like just have discussions and be on opposite sides of the discussion. So he taught me how to argue. That's funny, but it was a great thing. Now I can out-argue anybody. My first marriage taught me to appreciate my second, and that's why it lasted 54 years. So I don't have any regrets. If I hadn't have been married to the first one, I would not have appreciated, or the second one. He divorced me because he met a 17-year-old girl that he liked better than me. And then when that girl turned 20, he found another 17-year-old girl. So he just liked the young girls and died at the age of 52. And I said it was all the young girls. The only thing I can say is always be yourself and who you feel you are. Don't try to be somebody else or something that you are not, because you'll have so much more happiness being who you are.
Thank you so much for talking today. That's all
You're
my
welcome.
questions.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.